I guess we're going to have to keep having these conversations as regularly as is necessary until people get them. I think the other important thing for me to realize is that on Instagram Live and on YouTube Live, the comments that are sent during the video don't get saved when the video is done. So I think at the end of this video, I'll have to go through the comments if there are any, and then read them before I end the video. Pabi Moloi, her husband, in inverted commas, Ruan Adams, is looking to get divorced from her and is looking to get 50% of her estate, which apparently is worth millions of rands. Pabi claims that she's never been married. This guy says that he paid a iLobolo of 25,000 rand, that there was a ceremony that Upabi's grandmother, Ukoko, handed her over as umakoti, and thus they actually were married. And it's opened up the discussion again on customary marriages. And I went and I was reading a couple of articles, and I went to the justice.gov.za website just to reacquaint myself with the requirements for a customary marriage. So let me start here. According to justice.gov.za, both of you need to be 18 years old. If any of you, in particular the woman, is younger than 18, there needs to be consent from parents or from a legal guardian that this person can get married. There must be some kind of negotiation, some type of agreement in terms of the marriage in itself, the person getting married. What's interesting is that there's no requirement for iLobolo to be paid. Very odd. And there's a lady on Twitter, I think she's a legal mind, I forgot her name, I think it's Tibilo, who reaffirms this. There's no lobola requirement in customary marriage in the courts, but there needs to have been some type of negotiation and coming together of families, and the two have to be over 18. Obviously, if iLobolo has been paid, we assume that a negotiation was made. Even the idea in the past that used to come out that there needs to be some type of a ceremony or event is almost not that important anymore. So it's become very tricky, and I know people that have appealed these cases all the way to the Supreme Court of Appeal. The Supreme Court of Appeal has said that, look, the customary law is flexible because different families and different cultures and customs approach these things differently. So they tend to try and focus on like the basic. What's also important with customary marriages is that they are in community of property. You can't be married out of community of property. So as soon as you get married customarily, everything is shared. On top of that, once you're married customarily, you can't get married under civil. If you're married under civil and you'd like to be a polygamist, you'll have to get divorced, annul your marriage, and then thereafter you'll need to remarry again customarily, and then you can then marry your second, third, fourth wife customarily. So anyone who's a polygamist can't have a civil marriage, as used to happen with uMandlanduna, Mfanseni, in Wakhalanyonini. Speak about umfazi wephepha. You can't have a civil marriage, umfazi wephepha, and have a customary. I was reminded of the concept of iLobolo because a lot of girls on Twitter especially were saying, yo, this white guy was lucky, he only had to pay 25,000. People were saying iLobolo should be 50,000, 70,000, some as much as 100,000. And some cultural experts, whatever that means, got to weigh in on some of these things in some of the articles that you read online. And I was reminded, as I'm constantly reminded all the time, of how outdated and out of touch and destructive some of our African practices are. So I've made many videos about it before. This is just another one, the latest. I believe iLobolo should be scrapped. I believe iNhlawulo should be scrapped. I don't want to speak this time too much about the history and speak about Lord Theophilus Shepstone, who formalized iLobolo into 10 or 11 heads of cattle. I don't necessarily want to speak about money and how iLobolo now requires people to take out loans from banks to pay families. I want to speak about the fact that the lives we live today are not cultural. They're not African. And yet when it suits people, they want to hold on to what they call culture and customs, especially women, very sadly. Women, especially girls who are getting married, don't have a say when it comes to iLobolo. That's a discussion for elders and elder men in particular. In some cultures, obviously, urachadi, the aunt, has a say as well. But generally, it's the men that speak. It's not the girl. Girl doesn't speak. She doesn't have a say in how much is being paid. Number two, it's not the boy or the bride or the groom who pays. It's his family, more particularly his father. And they were paying, obviously, for things that made sense back then. Part of it being to bring families together. You don't need money to bring families together. So that principle doesn't need iLobolo. A family can come together and have a meal, cooked meal, or a braai, whatever the case may be. Number two, there was also this thing of appeasing ancestors, because the girl is leaving one household and one homestead to enjoy another one. To appease ancestors as well did not require money, because we didn't have money. And if your family didn't have cows, it wouldn't require cows. And if your family didn't have goats, it wouldn't require goats. And any ancestors that are telling you today in your dreams that they need to be cows and goats, when they've never left you land, because they lost that land to white colonialists, and they never left you livestock. But today, apparently through dreams, have the audacity. If it's not through dreams, it's through isangoma or inyanga that are going to tell you, oh, your ancestors need these things that they didn't leave for you. It's disingenuous and it's downright rubbish. We believe we are walking in the spirit of the people that came before us, which means when I speak, I'm the manifestation, I'm the voice of the people that came before me, the men and women. And if I come and I say these things are outdated and they no longer make sense, and I look around and they, number one, oppressing financially a lot of men, and number two, they're causing a lot of friction between couples, and you're seeing a lot of poor families abusing what was a beautiful practice. My ancestors are the ones saying that, and they realize that other people are being pushed into rubbish under this supposed bullshit of ancestors. Unless your ancestors were rogue and they were criminals and they didn't care about you and they were impractical, it wouldn't make sense for your ancestors to want you to. Sorry, I got cut there. I don't know if my Wi-Fi is having issues. I don't know any decent ancestor, African spirituality, which would be comfortable with you having to beg white people or Asians for a job, and then thereafter having to take your payslip and go and apply for loans from these white, so-called white banks, where you're going to be paying a lot of interest just so you can supposedly appease them when they know that you're struggling. And the reason you're struggling is because they lost to white colonialists. That doesn't make any sense. In the same breath, when we speak about iLobolo, there's this conversation about iNhlawulo, which is the damages for getting a girl pregnant that is not married. The foundation again of that is so wrong. Back in the day, of course, and again, I said I don't want to speak much about history, but back in the day, a girl wouldn't leave her father's home until she gets married. Today, women are free. Women can do what they want. They have agency. So they can sleep with whoever they want. If they want to use protection, it's up to them. If they want to abort, it's their prerogative. Not even their parents have a say. If they want to take the morning off the pool, if they want to keep a child, not even the guy has a say. So here's a woman falling pregnant, and the poor sucker of a guy now has to pay damages because he damaged the girl. How did he damage the girl? When this woman is free, liberated, empowered, and making her own decisions. Times have changed. And yet that same woman is going to expect that guy who she was riding to go and pay her family when none of the guys before had to pay anything. She hasn't been going for virginity testing. She hasn't been respecting the so-called beliefs that used to hold water before, where you can't go around and sleep with any man because you're not married. The foundation of these customs, iLobolo and iNhlawulo, are no longer respected. And the families that demand these things haven't raised their children under these principles. yet want to dictate, which means they have bastardized and tainted and ruined what were beautiful practices. That's why I don't believe we need to practice these things anymore. But we do need to discuss the principles. How are we raising our daughters? How are we raising our sons? Are we comfortable with them sleeping with whoever they want? And if so, are we comfortable to live with the consequences? Do we know if our daughters are on contraceptives? Do we know if our sons are using protection? How are we raising them when we send them to these white schools, when we let them watch TV and be on social media and be conditioned by the Western world and ads, but then want to dictate to them later on when there are consequences? A woman is now going to say to a man, you must lobola me. It's like, but you've slept with so many men and you claim to be a free woman and you're a feminist and you believe in gender equality. Yet I, who is struggling to get a job in this country where there's such high unemployment, you chose to sleep with me, we chose to be together as a couple. Now I must be bullied by your family. How's that going to build the black nation at all? Dr. Umar Johnson, in a video where he was speaking to these twins, says a people that are behind in a race have to run twice as fast to catch up. And I'm thinking, if black Africans are going to say, look, we agree to this Western economic system. We want to do well economically. We want to catch up. Why are they still imprisoning themselves to customs that impoverish them even further? Your family doesn't have goats. Your family doesn't have cows. Your family doesn't have chickens. Your family doesn't have land, even a small plot where you guys have your own livestock. And yet you have the audacity to speak about that your culture demands livestock, that you're going to have to go and buy from a stranger family. More specifically, because a lot of the farmers are white, you're going to go buy these cows from white farmers. You're going to go buy a calabash, ikamba, from like a China city or an Indian shop, along with the blankets and the straw mats, amakanzi. You're going to enrich other nations out there in the name of your culture. It's not stuff that your mom or your aunt or your father or your grandfather, it's not stuff that they're making themselves. It's not their animals. Even impepo that you guys use, you're buying from somewhere else. It's not impepo that you've gone to grow yourself and then you tried it and it's yours in your own home. You're impoverishing yourself in the name of what you call culture. That's not your culture. And normally what hurts me the most and gets me very, very angry is the fact that black Africans don't have real leaders anymore. These people you guys call your politicians, these people you guys call your chiefs, your kings, they do not serve you. A lot of them serve and worship money. They're all about becoming rich for themselves. Some of them serve the Queen of the United Kingdom, the Queen of England, the Queen of the British Kingdom. A lot of our kings, I'm not sure of I'm sure Misuzu, they're going to go bow to the Queen. In the same way that Cyril Ramaphosa, Jacob Zuma, Thabo Mbeki, Nelson Mandela all went to bow to the Queen. As if we're still a subsidiary in a British colony, but we claim we're not. But we still fall under the Commonwealth nations, which are the subsidiary countries of the United Kingdom. These people are not helping you. KwaZulu, there's a Ngonyama Trust that's not serving the Zulu people. Zulu people are going to Durban and Joburg and going to beg for jobs there. Because the Zulu king and the Zulu kingdom as a whole has not built Zulu schools that teach in the Zulu language. They haven't built Zulu clinics that use Zulu medication and African ways of healing. They don't have these workshops where they are constantly grooming Zulu children, just like the Muslims do at madrasa. Where do Zulu people go to praise umvilngani or their ancestors, makhulunya ngomsamo, that you have to build yourself? How are people being taught about that? I was raised KwaZulu for 35 years, but I wasn't taught these things anywhere. Nowhere. And I've never been given a piece of land under the Ngonyama Trust. This is your piece of land, Zulu boy. You can now go and be a man. I wasn't taught. And randomly and weirdly somehow when a girl falls pregnant, after we mutually consented to have sex together and have a child, now I have to be punished and pay damages. How did I damage her? And now her family says I must marry her in iLobolo. Why? When were we ever taught this? Your daughter never said that to me when we met. She never told me, look, this is my family's beliefs, so that I can take a step back and say, whoa, that means you and I can't have sex together because that violates your family's beliefs. The girls themselves want to speak loudly about iLobolo and iNhlawulo when they have constantly violated those principles that they probably weren't taught themselves. They chasing money, they chasing niggas with money, they chasing soft life. But they want to sneak in and feature African beliefs when it suits them, bastardizing and almost spitting in the faces of their ancestors. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. And when I speak to black people about this, I get attacked. And I'm like, how do you attack me for raising a mirror and showing you guys how hypocritical you are and how you have devastated the beliefs you claim to so hold? And I'm saying, let's dismantle it. Let's start again and look into the history and say, look, what still makes sense that we want to keep? What no longer makes sense and we want to get rid of it? And what new things can we introduce? A lot of our beliefs and practices were introduced by normal people like you and I. It wasn't stuff that came from the heavens or delivered through some aliens or some super flying animals that were speaking. It was people like you and I who sat and decided, guys, this doesn't work. Let's try something else. And I'm saying, why not us? Why can't we be the people to be like, this doesn't work anymore? Let's change it. We speak English, we go to white schools, we wear Western clothing. So why are we still doing things that don't make sense? Let's look at the principles. Should families be coming together? Yes. And a lot of our families are broken because of capitalism that sent our fathers to the mines and the farms and sent our mothers to go and work in households, in kitchens. The principle of rebuilding the family, that's important. Let's get that out the way. The principle of sex before marriage, that education needs to start young. And a lot of parents, especially black parents, are against the concept of sex education. Where must your kids learn about sex? Because you're not going to teach them. Let your children learn about sexually transmitted infections and diseases. Let them learn about pregnancy. Let them understand family planning from a young age and understand the consequences of sleeping with each other. Because all they're seeing are soapies. All they're seeing is pornography. All they're hearing is from their friends saying, oh, let's do this. This is cool. Did you see what Nicki Minaj did? Oh, Chris Brown. Those are not the greatest role models for what you want your kids to learn. Let's create spaces where we're teaching each other our beliefs and what the family wants. Let's be honest about where the parents went wrong. Where's your father? Why is your father absent? Why are you using your mother's surname? Which it comes out is actually your mother's father's surname. Which it comes out African people didn't have surnames. What they did is you were assigned a place of where you grew up. So if I grew up under a person's name, Utemba, I will be Upenwel Wagwatemba because I live on Temba's land. The surname thing came with white people when they created Home Affairs and wanted to track our movements. So if your mom is raising you in her property on her land, you should be taking her name as what we call a surname. But because we've lost the essence of who we are as a people, our history, our way of being, everything becomes a mess. And then people just come and add these layers on top that don't make sense. Like, must pay 100,000 rand in iLobolo. That's my culture. You must pay 10,000 rand in iNhlawulo. And then we must go buy a goat and slaughter. That's not your culture, man. You've completely missed the boat. And which principles don't make sense anymore? If we're saying that people get to choose who they love and who they want to marry and who they want to be with, then why are families being involved in the first place? Because these families are not there when things go bad. These families are not there when people are getting divorced, when the woman has found a new man. The woman was meant to submit. The woman was meant to be under the man's protection and on his land. But the woman is free today. She has her own land, her own money, her own decisions. Why does she have to take his surname? She doesn't belong to him. She's not a slave. So why must she take his surname at all? Why are we getting married? No, it's so that the children are fine. We don't need to be married to live together and raise children. And why are we even living together? Do we want to be in each other's space? Or can we co-parent and share the children every other week? I want my space. You want your space. I want my own interior decorating. You want your own interior design. Or I live somewhere else. And what are our new ways of living and new ways of being? Is polygamy still a thing? Why do we need polygamy? Does it work? Does it not work? What if she wants more than one person? What if she wants to be polyamorous? Polyamorous? I've lost these terms. There's polygyny, there's polygamy, there's polyamory. I've forgotten the term. But what if she wants to have more than one partner? What then? No, that's not our culture. Says who? Because we don't have a full understanding of our history and we're not taking time to spend time with our elders, some of them who are also confused, read some of the literature, some of which is incorrect, and then go back to logic and see what works in today's climate and see what type of futures we want, where we win, where we're not giving our money and our resources to other people. I think we can all do better. And I think it starts with scrapping some of the things that don't make sense and that take out more from us than give back. A lot of these beliefs destroy more than they build, sadly. I'm going to read some comments and then I'm going to shut this thing down. Likwalo, Lisiane, lol, who hurt you? Yeah, nah. Black people are hurting themselves and then I'm asked who hurt you. Shul Carvano, don't forget it's a spiritual cultural practice. I don't even know if we know what spiritual means because you guys want to be Christian when it suits you. You want to be African spiritual when it suits you. A lot of you don't understand the history of Africa. You don't understand the spiritual significance. You don't know your own family. You guys celebrate Nelson Mandela's birthday, but you don't know your grandfather's birthday, your grandmother's birthday. So when we speak about spirituality, what exactly are we speaking about? Are you speaking about something you heard now, Anu and Imhotep and the great kingdom of Kemet? Someone told you a nice story, like Marvel, and you just bought into it because it sounds African. You don't have a full understanding of who you are and where you come from and what you believe in. And we want to speak spirituality. We're lost. Don't know why you have to be paying money for spirituality. Motlatso Ramushaba says there's nothing wrong with 25,000 lobolo. It shouldn't even be about the amount. Once you understand the significance, it shouldn't be an amount. iLobolo is also not only paid in cash, but it can be paid in kind. In kind means vegetables. It means a gift. You can give them alcohol. You can give them furniture. You can even offer services and be like, look, we'll fix your family's cars for the next however many years because we're family now. So why am I paying cash? Sanele Ndlovu Kacheni says, fully support you on that one, my brother. Cyclone, my brother, in empathy, calling yourself God is a mistake. If you do not want to be like the same people who manipulate you, before higher power bless you with clarity, you cite the glimpse of spirituality. Cyclone, my calling myself God, the fact that it disturbs you means you don't know who you are. If we claim to be the people of a God of gods, am I not the manifestation of God? Is that not what a Jesus Christ was saying when he said, I'm the Son of God? Why are you so scared of a man owning himself and owning his greatness? Why must I ascribe to an external God, mostly that was brought in by people that oppressed my people? And you tell me I must forsake who I am and who I want to be to please your inferior small mind. I will not do that. I will not lower myself to the little that you are from the greatness that I am. And I hope that in my greatness, I will inspire other people to see the greatness that they are. Stop being so scared. Stop having a pastor and a Bible preach to you who you are and who you're meant to be. Come on, man. Come on. Talk with Sispinki. Our families are not ready to have these conversations, and that's why people like myself are trying to open them up so that you have a reference point. You can say, God Penwell said this. It will protect you. I will be attacked. I don't mind being attacked, but I know these conversations are important and other people need to start them. If we can't change the whole of African Black society, let's start with our families. No one is going to lobola my daughters. My sons, I'm not going to pay lobola, and I'm going to make sure that in whoever they engage with, they explain what their beliefs are at home. And before the person gets close to them, gets intimate, they must know exactly what they're getting themselves into. I think that's fundamentally important. Cyclone saying, seeing the word in God's perspective doesn't make you a God. I'm one of the ascended masters called, brother. I admire your love for truth, but you should reconsider spirituality is acknowledging. Not even going to entertain that. Modern free man, I've been saying this, in this modern society, lobolo is not necessary. It's really not. Bringing families together, building with families, seeing how the parents can come together and pool resources for the benefit of the couple, and seeing how the couple can benefit the families. That's what we need to be talking about, not airy-fairy amounts that are not doing anything for us. Shun Calvano says, didn't Kune pay 1 million rand lobolo? I don't know if it was confirmed by Umini Dlamini at the time. I'm not even going to entertain that very much. What I wanted to say was, iLobolo is a noun. Ukulobola is a verb. A lot of people confuse this, even in articles, even people that claim to be knowledgeable about African beliefs. It's not rocket science if you understand Guni languages. iLobolo is a noun. That is the thing. Ukulobola is the verb. It is the act. Shun Carvano says facts. Modern Freeman says exactly, bro. Stink Mina ZA says facts 100. Cyclone Africa needs us to awaken the minds of people that limit themselves to a self-centered approach that deny reality. Mutlatso Ramushaba, you pay damages in order to respect the family. A woman with a child is less likely to get married. That was the old way of being. Again, our women are liberated today. How am I disrespecting a family by sleeping with a mutual woman? We went to school together. We've been struggling together. We went to tertiary together. We have the same struggles. We're both trying to get a job. By me paying her family for sleeping with her, it makes her inferior. It is as if she is beneath me and I have violated her when she chose to get with me in a world where women are empowered and we have gender equality. Again, these are the conversations we're meant to be having. Why is she not respecting my family and saying, oh, I slept with your son? I violated your family code. The ridiculousness of this thing for me is too much. Nangam soputwa, uyayithetha ikaka ngalo mlomo wakho. It's your opinion, my sister. I'm very sad to read comments like yours, but it's because of people like you that the black nation remains at the bottom of the food chain. Sorry. Cyclone, call me Penwell, the black pen. Okay, whatever. Nangam soputwa, ngumXhosa okanye ngumZulu lento ithetha apha. I'm not going to entertain that, Nangamso. Motlatso, not you referencing Umar Johnson, same man who stole from people, Awa. I think an intelligent mind, I can't speak for Umar Johnson, and I don't know if he stole anything. But whether it's Adolf Hitler, whether it is Robert Mugabe, whether it is Putin, whether it is Mao, whether it is Verwoerd, when someone says something that can add value to your life, I have the intelligence to be able to take that and build on it. I can't speak for any atrocities a person may have committed or any bad things they've done. Unfortunately, if you have a small brain, if someone who is a criminal comes and gives you good advice, you'll throw it away because you believe that the world is black and white. And if a person has been deemed bad, you believe that there's no good that can come from them. And that's very tragic. I understand we're not the same as people. So yeah. By the way, the Umar Johnson quote was, a people that are behind in a race have to run twice as fast to catch up. If you have an issue with just that line, you know, I don't know, man, purely because you don't like Umar Johnson, that's very sad for me. Shun Kanarvano, and you even get overcharged because you're from a different nation. Very stupid. Modern Freeman, white waiting still follows after all that, bro. We're lost. You claim to be African, you want a white wedding, you want rings, you want a honeymoon, and then you want a nice house. And it's, again, these are the things that are financially oppressing, economically oppressing black people. And the sooner they unpack these things and they take what works for them and they discard what doesn't, the sooner black people as a whole, as a collective, can move forward. Cyclone, we have to help people understand the portal of knowledge, which is self-awareness. I fully believe in self-awareness. It is the first step towards true wealth. And true wealth includes your health. It includes the wealth of your mind, and it includes tangible wealth, of course. Cyclone called me Africa needs to draw the drawing board. Gathering the reformers is the way. Nkata Makhalifa. What bearing does Lobola have on your soul is a question. I spoke about spirituality a bit earlier. Again, if we're going to speak about iLobolo and then speak about ancestors and the soul, which part of ancestors and the soul is money? So you're saying 50,000 has something to do with your spirituality and your soul. Come on, man. Come on. Modern Freeman, Cyclone, what are you talking about, bro? Utando Mkwanazi, we wouldn't have this Lobola mess if traditional leaders were doing their job. Facts. We don't have those leaders. So for me, it's getting people to unplug and say, if this leader is not serving me, I will not follow him. For example, I don't like Cyril Ramaphosa as a president. So as far as I'm concerned, he's not my president. So whatever he says on TV or elsewhere is just a suggestion. I listen to it. If it makes sense to me, I'm like, oh, okay, I think I'll follow this. If it doesn't make sense to me, I unplug. I'm like, that guy's not my leader. We see it in this country, the ZCC Church, Ushembe, the Muslims, the Jewish Board of Deputies, and some other nations, the Afrikaners, for example. They don't take directives from the president. They listen to their leaders, and their leaders tell them what to do. In a similar fashion, if the Zulus were to listen to Misu Zulu or Zwelithini or whoever, what are those people doing for them? How are they pushing their agenda forward? They're not. That's why you end up listening to other politicians, celebrities overseas and whatever, listening to certain pastors because they speak sense to you. So people need to begin choosing their leaders, and you mustn't have leaders imposed on you. True leadership, by the way, is never given. It's taken, and it's not a title. Zonaka, it's crazy that we got rid of all our African traditions and chose to keep iLobolo. It's nothing but greed, I tell you. And that's a fact. Like I said, if what you call your African customs are enriching other nations and other strangers that you don't know, that's not your custom. That means you've been convinced and conditioned to enrich other people under a bogus belief system that is actually not yours. Makugela. It's no longer practical. We're jobless in a broken society, in a ruthless capitalist system. It's no longer working for us. And it's really not. It's really, really not. Nkata Makalifa, I don't believe in iLobolo. It was suitable years before globalization. Nkata, again, it just doesn't suit this time we live in. Your perfect partner could be an Asian or an Indian, etc. So to me, culture is subject to change as we evolve as a race. He also says, I think it's a he, the only things we keep is good values like respect. So some principles we need to keep: respect, working with the community, coming together as families, helping each other. What we call ubuntu, we've lost that. Nkosinathi Mgadi, I paid 30,000 rand for iNhlawulo and the child doesn't use my name. The mother is Sutu. You were scammed. I'd like to think Nkosinathi didn't rape this woman. This woman willingly had sex with him. They chose to have a child together, and then she and her family came and they scammed you and they stole 30,000 rand of your money. And your child now is currently not even your child per se. We're lost. Skumbuzo Makosonke, I paid iNhlawulo and iLobolo, we got divorced and then ended up in court fighting for my child. Like I said, these practices do more damage than good. They're meant to build. If you're bringing families together, why are the families not helping the couple to win? Why are they not helping the child to see their father? It's rubbish. Tibani Bunene. We resort to useless leaders like Julius Flip-Flop Malema because we are no independent thinkers. And I'm hoping that through some of these conversations, I get to plant these seeds in your head to understand that you are good enough to lead. You don't have to lead the nation. You don't have to lead a whole group of people. Lead yourself, very importantly. Lead your children where you can lead your family and be like, guys, this is not working for us anymore. We need a new way. And if your family doesn't want to listen, it's fine. Go your own way and you'll see your life prospering. I'll stop here. Penuel the Black Pen. Thanks a lot for the comments. Last one, South African movie cinema. Afternoon, the Black Pen. I love you guys very much. I'll chat to you soon. Cheers.